The phone call came on a Tuesday evening while I was reviewing financial reports in my downtown Boston office. My mother's voice, careful and measured in that way that meant she'd rehearsed what she was about to say. "Paige, we need to talk about your sister's wedding. Your father and I have discussed this extensively with Madison, and we've decided, well, we think it's better if you don't attend. It would just be easier for everyone. Less tension. Madison wants her day to be perfect, and your presence would complicate things." I set down my pen very slowly. "I'm sorry, what? You're not invited to Madison's wedding. We think it's for the best. You understand, don't you? You've always been so independent, so focused on your career. You don't really need family events the way Madison does. She's more sensitive. This day is important to her. And it's not important to me? To be at my own sister's wedding? Paige, don't make this difficult. You know how you and Madison are. Oil and water. Always have been. This way, she can enjoy her day without feeling overshadowed. You have to understand, this isn't personal." "Not personal," I repeated slowly. "My parents are telling me I'm not invited to my sister's wedding because my existence would overshadow her, and it's not personal." "Exactly. I'm glad you understand. We'll send you photos afterward." She hung up before I could respond. And I sat in my office, the 28th floor of a building I partly owned, staring at the Boston skyline, and felt something I hadn't felt in years, the old familiar pain of never being enough and simultaneously being too much. My name is Paige Hartley, and if you're watching this, stay with me. Because my parents uninvited me from my sister's wedding to make her feel better about herself. And what they didn't know was that the daughter they'd just excluded had been funding that wedding, managing the logistics, and holding their entire family together financially for the past decade. And when I stopped, their perfect day became a perfect disaster. Let me take you back so you understand the dynamics at play. I'm the older sister by 4 years in a family from the Boston suburbs. My parents, Richard and Susan Hartley, are upper-middle-class professionals who care deeply about appearances. My younger sister, Madison, is everything they always wanted in a daughter: social, conventional, married young, prioritizes family over career. And then there's me. Paige. The overachiever. The workaholic. The one who went to Wharton, became a venture capitalist, made partner at 29, started my own investment firm at 32. The one who's still unmarried at 35 because I'm too picky and too focused on work. The one who doesn't fit their vision of what a daughter should be. Growing up, I was the responsible one. The straight-A student. The one who got scholarships, who worked part-time jobs through college, who built a career through sheer determination. Madison was the fun one. The social one. The one who struggled academically but was finding her path. The one who got engaged at 23 to her college boyfriend, Blake, and whose entire identity became Blake's fiancée, and then Blake's wife. For years, I'd told myself the different treatment didn't bother me. I was successful. I had money. I had professional respect. I didn't need my parents' validation. But deep down, it hurt. Every time they gushed about Madison's engagement while barely acknowledging my business milestones. Every time they attended her amateur theater performances but were too busy for my company's fundraising galas. Every time they made it clear that Madison's conventional life path was more valuable than my unconventional success. But here's what they didn't know: for the past 10 years, I'd been the family's financial backbone. My father's consulting business had been struggling since 2015. He'd borrowed $45,000 from me to get through a rough patch. Never paid it back. Never acknowledged it was a loan. Just let it disappear into the family's collective amnesia. My mother's medical expenses when she had surgery 3 years ago. I'd covered $28,000 in out-of-pocket costs because their insurance was terrible. Just until we can pay you back, Paige. You're so successful, you won't even miss it. Madison's wedding? The one I was now uninvited from? I'd quietly been funding it. The venue deposit, $8,000. The photographer she'd been crying about not being able to afford, $4,500. The designer dress alterations, $1,200. Her honeymoon flight upgrades, $2,800. Total wedding contributions, $16,500. All given as gifts, because I wanted Madison to have her perfect day. I'd also been the logistics coordinator. Madison had hired a wedding planner, but the planner was overwhelmed and incompetent. So I'd been the one actually managing vendor contracts, timeline coordination, guest list organization. I'd spent dozens of hours on tasks Madison thought the planner was handling but that were actually falling on me. And now, I was uninvited. Because my presence would overshadow Madison. After my mother's call, I sat in my office for exactly 15 minutes. Processing. Planning. Then I made a series of phone calls. First, to my attorney, Claire Donnelly. Claire, I need to formally request repayment of several family loans. I'll send you the documentation. I want demand letters sent, professionally and legally, for full repayment within 30 days. Paige, are you sure? Family loans can get messy. I'm sure. They just uninvited me from my sister's wedding. I'm done being the family bank while being treated like the family embarrassment. Next, I called the wedding venue. Hi, this is Paige Hartley. I'd like to request a refund of the deposit I placed for the Madison Hartley Blake Morrison wedding. Yes, I placed it. It's under my name and credit card. I'd like it refunded immediately, please. The venue manager was apologetic but firm. Ms. Hartley, I'm sorry, but deposits are non-refundable per the contract you signed. I understand. Then I'd like to invoke the clause that allows me to transfer the venue to a different event. I'll be using the space for a corporate retreat instead. Please send the updated contract. But, Ms. Hartley, the wedding is in 6 weeks. Then they have 6 weeks to find a new venue. Please send me the paperwork for the venue transfer by end of business today. I made similar calls to the photographer, the florist, the catering company. Everything I'd booked and paid for under my name and credit card, I canceled or transferred. The wedding planner called me within 2 hours, panicking. Paige. What's happening? Half my vendors just contacted me saying services are canceled because the person who booked them withdrew authorization. That would be me, I said calmly. I'm the person who booked and paid for those services. And since I'm not invited to the wedding, I've decided to redirect those resources elsewhere. But Madison's wedding is in 6 weeks. We can't replace all of this. That sounds like a Madison problem, not a Paige problem. I'm sure the wedding planner she hired can figure it out. That's what she's being paid for, right? Paige, please. This will ruin everything. My parents told me my presence would ruin everything. I'm just making sure my absence is consistent with that assessment. Have a good day. I hung up and went back to work. An hour later, my phone started exploding. Texts from my mother, my father, Madison, even Blake. All variations of, "What have you done?" and "How could you?" and "This is so vindictive." I responded to all of them with the same message: "You said it was better if I wasn't at the wedding. I'm ensuring my presence, financial and logistical, is also absent. You wanted me excluded. Consider me fully excluded." My father called me 15 times that evening. I didn't answer. Finally, he left a voicemail: "Paige, this is ridiculous. You're throwing a tantrum like a child. Yes, we made a decision about the wedding, but that doesn't mean you can sabotage it. You're being selfish and cruel. Call me back immediately so we can fix this." I saved the voicemail. Sent it to Claire with a note: "Document this. They're now calling me selfish for withdrawing financial support from an event I've been explicitly told I'm too problematic to attend." Over the next week, the attempts to contact me intensified. My mother showed up at my office building. Security called me: "There's a Susan Hartley in the lobby claiming to be your mother and demanding to see you. Tell her I'm unavailable and she needs to leave the building. If she refuses, call the police for trespassing." She left. But not before causing a scene that my assistant, Jennifer, witnessed and told me about later. Your mom was crying in the lobby, saying you're destroying your sister's wedding out of spite. Security had to escort her out. Paige, what's going on? My family uninvited me from my sister's wedding, then expected me to keep paying for it. I declined. That's what's going on. They uninvited you from your own sister's wedding? They said my presence would overshadow her and make her day less perfect. Jennifer's eyes went wide. That's insane. And they expect you to still fund it? Expected. Past tense. I've withdrawn all financial and logistical support. The wedding is now their problem to solve. Good, Jennifer said fiercely. They can't have it both ways. Either you're family or you're not. 2 weeks after I'd withdrawn my support, I got an unexpected call from Blake, my soon-to-be brother-in-law. I answered, curious what he had to say. Paige, can we talk? Off the record, just, person to person? Sure, Blake. What's up? I didn't know about any of it. I didn't know you'd been funding the wedding. I didn't know you'd been managing all the logistics. I didn't even know you weren't invited until 3 days ago when Madison had a complete breakdown about the venue cancellation and it all came out. I was silent, processing this. Paige, I told Madison I won't marry her unless she fixes this. Unless she apologizes to you and means it. This is not the person I thought I was marrying. Someone who'd let her parents exclude her own sister and then still expect that sister to pay for everything? That's not okay. Blake, I appreciate you saying that. I really do. But this isn't Madison's decision alone. Our parents orchestrated this. They've been treating me like I'm simultaneously too successful to need family and not successful enough to be proud of. I'm done trying to figure out that impossible math. I get it. And I'm sorry. Madison's been spoiled her whole life. I see that now. Her parents have enabled this idea that she's the delicate princess who needs protecting from reality. And you're the strong one who doesn't need anyone. It's not fair, and it's not healthy. What are you going to do? I asked. I'm giving her 1 week to make this right. If she can't apologize to you genuinely and understand why what they did was wrong, I'm calling off the wedding. I can't marry someone who treats family like this. He hung up. And I felt a strange mix of emotions. Vindication that someone finally saw the dysfunction. Sadness that it had come to this. Curiosity about whether Madison was capable of genuine self-reflection. 3 days later, Madison called me. No blocked number, no intermediary. Just her. Paige, can we meet? Coffee, neutral location, just us? Why? Because Blake's right. Because I've been a terrible sister. Because I need to apologize, and I need to do it in person. We met at a Starbucks in Cambridge the next afternoon. Madison looked exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes, no makeup, hair in a messy ponytail. Not the glamorous bride-to-be persona she usually projected. I didn't want to exclude you, she started. That was Mom and Dad. They convinced me you wouldn't care because you're always so busy with work. They said you'd probably prefer not to come anyway because family events aren't your thing. I believed them because it was easier than confronting the real issue. Which is that I've always been jealous of you. You're smarter, more successful, more independent. You built an entire life on your own terms while I've just existed in the shadow of being the pretty, social one. Mom and Dad praise me for getting married and praise you for nothing because your success intimidates them. And excluding you from the wedding felt like the one day I could have where I wasn't being compared to you. She was crying now. Real tears, not manipulative ones. But Paige, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know you'd been paying for half the wedding. I didn't know you'd been managing the vendors. Mom told me the wedding planner was handling everything. When it all fell apart, when I found out you'd funded the venue, the photographer, the flowers, and I'd never even thanked you. I felt like the worst person alive. You should have known, I said quietly. You should have asked where the money was coming from. You should have wondered how a wedding planner who was clearly incompetent was somehow keeping everything on track. You should have questioned why I wasn't invited to my own sister's wedding. You're right. I should have. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Not because Blake gave me an ultimatum, but because I finally see it. I see how Mom and Dad have treated you like you're only valuable when you're useful. How they've treated me like I'm only valuable when I'm conventional. How toxic that is for both of us. What do you want from me, Madison? I want you at my wedding. Not as the person who pays for it or manages it, but as my sister. I want to start over. I want to be the kind of sister who actually shows up for you instead of just taking from you. I don't know if I can undo 15 years of being terrible, but I want to try. I looked at her for a long moment. The wedding is in 4 weeks. You don't have a venue. You don't have a photographer. You don't have half your vendors. What's your plan? Blake's parents offered their estate in Newport. It's beautiful, and they're not charging us. I found a photographer who had a cancellation. We're simplifying everything, just close family and friends, backyard reception, food trucks instead of formal catering. It's not the Pinterest perfect wedding I'd imagined, but it's real. And it's what we can actually afford without relying on you. That sounds nice, I said honestly. Will you come? Not to fix anything, not to pay for anything. Just to be there? I know I don't deserve it. But I'm asking anyway. I thought about it. About whether people can actually change. About whether one apology could undo years of being treated as less than. About whether I wanted to be the kind of person who held grudges or the kind who gave genuine second chances when someone did the hard work of apologizing. I'll come, I said finally. On one condition, Mom and Dad need to apologize too. And I mean really apologize, not the "we're sorry you're upset" non-apology. They need to acknowledge what they did and why it was wrong. They're in therapy, Madison said. Both of them. After Blake threatened to call off the wedding, they finally realized they'd been damaging both of us with their treatment. Dad especially. He's been forced to confront how he's treated you like a business transaction, only valuable when you're providing something. It's been hard for him. Good, I said without sympathy. It should be hard. Treating your daughter like an ATM with legs should be uncomfortable to acknowledge. 2 weeks before the wedding, my parents asked to meet with me. I agreed, but only with Claire, my attorney, present. This is a recorded conversation, I told them before we started. Anything you say can and will be documented. My father looked older than I'd ever seen him. My mother's hands were shaking. Paige, my father started, we owe you an apology that's long overdue. We've been in therapy, individually and as a couple, trying to understand how we got here. And the truth is painful, we've been using you. Not just financially, though that's bad enough. Emotionally. We've treated you like the strong one who doesn't need support while treating Madison like she's fragile. We created a family dynamic where you're valuable only when you're providing something, and Madison's valuable only when she's meeting our conventional expectations. It's toxic for both of you. I've borrowed $45,000 from you that I've never paid back, he continued. I've expected you to cover family expenses without acknowledgement. I've dismissed your accomplishments because they make me feel inadequate. I've excluded you from family celebrations because your success makes me uncomfortable. That's on me. Not on you. And I'm deeply sorry. My mother spoke next. I let your father lead on this. I told myself I was keeping the peace. But really, I was taking the coward's way out. I let you be excluded from your sister's wedding without defending you. I expected you to fund it while being told you weren't welcome. That's not just wrong. It's cruel. And I'm ashamed. You said my presence would overshadow Madison, I said to my mother. Do you understand how that made me feel? Like my existence is a problem to be managed? Yes, she said, crying now. And I'm so sorry. You're not a problem. You're extraordinary. And I've been too insecure to celebrate that. I've been afraid that if I praised you, Madison would feel bad. But the answer isn't to diminish you. It's to build Madison up in her own way. I failed both of you. We talked for 2 hours. They presented a repayment plan for the $45,000 loan, monthly payments over 3 years with interest. They acknowledged in writing every expense I'd covered that they'd never repaid. They agreed to family therapy, all 4 of us, to rebuild healthy relationships. It wasn't perfect. It didn't erase the pain. But it was real. And it was a start. Madison's wedding was beautiful in its simplicity. Blake's family estate in Newport overlooking the ocean, string lights in the trees, food trucks serving gourmet tacos and lobster rolls, a DJ instead of a band. About 50 people instead of the 200 she'd originally planned. I sat in the second row. Madison had asked me to be a bridesmaid, but I'd declined. Let's take this slow, I'd said. I'll be there as your sister. That's enough for now. During her vows, Madison went off script. Blake, you've taught me what real partnership looks like. What it means to show up for someone without keeping score. What it means to love someone for who they are, not who I need them to be. And I want to take a moment to acknowledge someone else who's taught me that lesson the hard way, my sister Paige. She looked directly at me. Paige, I've been a terrible sister. I took from you without giving back. I let our parents treat you like you were only valuable when you were useful. I excluded you from this day because I was jealous of your success instead of proud of it. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm grateful for your presence. And I promise to spend the rest of my life being the sister you deserved all along. The small gathering applauded. I felt tears in my eyes. Not because everything was fixed, but because someone had finally seen me. Really seen me. After the wedding, my relationship with my family slowly rebuilt. My parents continued therapy and actually started treating me like a daughter instead of a resource. Madison and I started having regular coffee dates where she'd actually ask about my life instead of just talking about hers. Blake became a genuine friend, someone who called bullshit when my family slipped into old patterns. 6 months after the wedding, I got a letter from Madison. Inside was a check for $16,500, every penny I'd spent on her wedding. And a note. Paige, I know money doesn't fix what we did to you. But Blake and I saved up to pay you back because you shouldn't have funded a wedding you were told you couldn't attend. Thank you for giving me a second chance I didn't deserve. I'm working every day to be worthy of it. Love, Madison. I framed the note. Deposited the check. And felt something I hadn't felt in years, hope that maybe, just maybe, family could be something other than painful. My name is Paige Hartley. My parents didn't invite me to my sister's wedding, said it was better without me there, and then expected me to keep funding it. So I withdrew every penny, canceled every vendor I'd booked, and let them figure out how to have a perfect day without the sister they'd decided was too problematic to attend. The wedding they'd planned fell apart. The venue was lost. The photographer canceled. The fairy tale event Madison dreamed of became impossible without the person they'd excluded. But something unexpected happened. It forced real reflection. Real apologies. Real change. Madison married Blake in a backyard ceremony that was more authentic than anything Pinterest could have produced. My parents started actually working on themselves instead of just expecting me to absorb their dysfunction. And I learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop enabling people who take you for granted. They said it was better without me there. Turns out, they were wrong. It was actually impossible without me there. And that realization, that I wasn't the problem to be managed but the solution they'd been taking for granted, changed everything. I'm not the overachieving daughter who doesn't need family anymore. I'm the daughter who learned to require reciprocity. Who learned that success means nothing if the people who should celebrate you are too insecure to acknowledge it. Who learned that sometimes you have to let everything fall apart before you can build something healthy. They tried to exclude me from the family. Instead, they forced the family to face how broken it had become without me. And in the rebuilding, we found something better than what we'd had, a family based on mutual respect instead of conditional acceptance. Sometimes being uninvited is the best invitation you never knew you needed, an invitation to finally demand the treatment you deserve.